Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Family Matters. My name is Edward Kabasa. Tonight we are talking about children with special needs and who are these children and what sort of environment do they live in, what do they go through, and what do their parents go through, and what are they doing to ensure that they live normally. In studio with me, I have a panel which is going to help us talk about this particular topic. But a quick one here. In 1980, the government declared the National Year for People with Disabilities to promote awareness. And in 1984, educational assessment and resource services were introduced by the Ministry of Education to improve educational services for special education students. In 1989, Kenya's oldest disabled person organization, also known as DPO, Kenya Union of the Blind, merges with the Kenya National Association of the Deaf, Kenya Society of the Physically Handicapped, and other organizations formed the United Disabled Persons of Kenya, also known as UDBK. And in 1993, the Attorney General appointed a task force to review laws related to persons with disabilities and collect views from the public. And in 2010, the our Constitution 2010 did recognize the persons living with disabilities and enshrined their rights in that particular document. In studio tonight, I'm joined by Ivan Nyoike, who is also the director of Icon Special Tutorials. Thank you very much. And Baba Tumaini, even though I insisted on your government names, but thank you very much. And Maria Njeri.
Thank you.
All right. Let's start with you, Maria.
Yeah.
Where were you born, and how special is your life right now?
Wow, okay. So my name is Maria Njeri. I am a young lady living with cerebral palsy. When I was born, I didn't breathe for a couple of minutes, and that caused a lack of oxygen to my brain, which caused brain damage. And with that, I acquired cerebral palsy, which is a lifelong condition. It has no cure, but it can be managed with early intervention and intensive therapy. I grew up in a place known as Kikuyu, and I've just graduated from university, and so that is a testament that children with special needs can go through the full cycle of education, and I'm the necessary needs maker. My purpose would be just to create as much awareness in Kenya as possible for cerebral palsy and for everyone living with a different ability. We need to speak out, and yeah, that's who I am.
So how was it for you growing up, especially primary and secondary school? Because by the time you reach campus, already you know everything that is going on.
Yeah, I must say primary was quite tough for me. I went through the normal 844 system in primary, and I can pick out a couple of issues where, for my condition, cerebral palsy is much about my movement, my muscles, but also I'm a slow learner. So when put in a class where the pressure is on performing and getting high scores and keeping up with homework and so on, I didn't do so well. Also, again, our school's 844 most of the teachers don't have a background in special education, and those who have don't necessarily want to address the children with different abilities. So there's also a challenge in how you interact with the teachers and how well you deal with school. So that was also very hard for me. And then I read something. There was a study done, and it shows children with special needs don't do well in school because of social skills. And so that also played a role in how well I fitted and interacted with my peers. So 844 was hard enough, but in high school I was fortunate. I joined a special school called KCCI, Kenya Community Center for Learning.
Where is it?
It's on Thika Road,
Right.
behind TRM. And that was more adaptable because they focused on my abilities, not what I didn't have. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But Tumaini, I insist we have to get your government names so that, you know.
My name's David Mbao.
Okay.
Yes.
So Tumaini is your daughter.
Tumaini is my oldest daughter. I have two daughters, Tumaini and Imani. Tumaini is 8 years now, and Imani is just over 1 year, 8 months now. Tumaini, we're blessed with Tumaini. She's specially gifted. She was born with a condition called Down syndrome. But the second one she also has her own special needs. It's just that they're not Down syndrome. So I say all kids have special needs.
Yes.
So mine just has, the special need comes because of the Down syndrome. Everyone does. So my journey as a parent has been quite challenging. I could say, and I speak for I'm sure I speak for parents who walk the same path. Our challenges start right at the very first day that you're gifted with this bouncing baby in hospital. I mean, like, it is not enough already just to be surprised with the news of the challenges that have come with your new bundle of joy. The thing that also then creams the whole and makes it worse, the whole situation, is the way that the news is also passed across to you by the doctors. This is a personal experience for me. It could be different for other parents. But
So how did yours happen?
Mine happened. I was actually, the news was not even passed to me by the doctor. It was actually passed to me by the nurses. In their talk, you know, it was just a loose talk they were having, and I just happened to be walking by. I'm coming to pay one of those visits that I just want to come and see my baby, and I heard them talk about the baby, and that's not the best way you want to receive this news for the very first time. Later on, when I went in to see the doctor and they broke the news to me, then it was very impersonal and it was so detached. I felt it was as negative as it could ever get, because it was like I'm looking for a nice word, because for me it was...
Like, we can be a Kenyan and say by the way. It was like a by the way.
It was, I think it could have been done better. Maybe that's a nice way to put it. And I personally think that, because I've come across many doctors, I've had this path, you have to meet many doctors. And I have to say that on the doctor's bit of it, very few then are sensitive or are sensitized to be sensitive to us. And I think that's a big deal for us, because you find yourself in a space where you never thought you'll be there, you are not prepared for it. Your friends, your family, they want to be there for you, but they also do not know how to be there for you. So By saying that, I mean that it hits them as hard as it hits you, and they don't know how to react to it. So they don't know when to step into the space, when not to step into it, what to say when they step into it, what words to use when to step into that space. So naturally, just the way things work out is that you end up being very lonely. You find yourself in a place where you don't know where to go to, who to go to, the next place to go to. The doctor is the last person you want to see, because, I mean, he only has but not the best news for you. So every time you go in, it's tests and more tests and things to look out for, a full list of negative things to look out for. And this is the last thing you want to hear. You have to hear it, but I wish that we had a place to go to also get the positives of it and to encourage you, and just a pool that you can go in and get someone to stand in with you and walk with you, and prepare you for this journey. So,
like, you're taking Tumaini home.
Yes.
What was running through your mind?
This is a very emotional part for me, because I that day plays back in my head every single time that I think about just parents getting these children from hospital. I remember we're driving from hospital with my wife, and she was seated at the back with the baby, and she was already a mess. She was already so broken from the first day. And as the man, I was trying to keep things together, though inside I was broken. And I remember driving out of hospital, something just broke as I was driving. And I remember I couldn't even drive. I had to actually stop a few times before I got home, because tears were just rolling down my cheeks, because it was just overwhelming, I had no one to talk to. I had nowhere to vent this. I don't even know what to call these emotions inside me. Frustrations, thinking, thoughts running through my head on, how's the life going to be for my child? Is it even going to work out? How can I make it better? I was an emotional, it was a wreck. That's all I can say. It was amazing.
We'll give you time.
Thank you.
Eva, you run an organization that deals with such matters. Where did you start? Do you have personal stories that probably prompted you to start what you're doing right now?
Okay. Well, my school is called Econ Special Tutorials. It's a program that deals with children actually and parents with special needs. Now, my personal story, that's a very interesting one, because I did not think you were going to ask me this. You did not prepare me. Yes, I do have a personal story, and what I can say is that I think from the offset, I knew that I was going to work with children with special needs. At some point, I realized that was my calling, that was my vocation. And in the mix of all this realization and everything, God indeed did bless me with a child. And this child, this was after I decided I was going to do special education. So this child was a regular child, was a fine child, but we did not know at that point, but he had hemophilia. He was hemophilic, which is a blood disorder, and the blood does not clot, and anything can cause a bruise, anything can, the child doesn't have to fall down, doesn't have to be hit, or doesn't have to get hurt. And so my baby was about 3 months at that point, and he was bleeding, and we found a bruise on his side of the tummy, and then there was another bruise at the side of his head, and the one on his head actually it showed that there was bleeding that led to the brain. And of course, if there's bleeding in the brain, it means that the child is, according to the doctor who walked in and told me that your child is severely mentally retarded. So I don't know whether that, you see, by then I had already decided that's what I was going to do. And then here I am, I've been blessed with this child, and that's what the doctor has told me, that this child will be severely mentally retarded. And I remember negotiating with God, because at that point they decided that they were going to, he was in a coma by that time. And they did, they were planning on getting him off the machine, the breathing, whatever they call it.
The life support.
Yes, so they had planned to do that. And I remember negotiating the whole night. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday night that they told me that. Negotiating with God and telling him, I promise I'll be the best mother in the whole world for a severely retarded child. Just let this child breathe on his own. Let him breathe, let him breathe. And I promised to God, and I gave him everything. You know, I said, that's what I'm going to do. And the following morning, I went and he was breathing on his own.
Wow.
And that was a celebration for that time. But 2 days later, he passed on. And but I continued with my journey to doing special education. I shelved all that business away, and I decided I'm not dealing with that. I was angry, of course, that he passed on, but I continued. But there was not a time that I connected the two until maybe 10 years later or something. And I realized, because parents would come in and talk like the way Baba Tumaini is talking and everything. And I realized, you know what? That could have been me walking into somebody's office with my son, Papa, looking for a place for my son. And at that time, I shifted from wanting to be the best mother of a child with special needs to be the best teacher, or the best place that you can come to with your child who you do not know what to do. This is a child who's different. You have no idea how to, you don't know where to go, you don't know where to start, you don't know what to expect. And I decided I'm going to be that place that a parent with a child with special needs will be able to walk into my office and feel, yes, I have arrived. This is where I have been looking for. This is where I belong. And not just because I will smile and talk to you and, you know, because I will try to give you the support that you need as a mother or a father. I will look for the resources that you need to enable us to ensure that this child will live as normal a life as is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my personal story that you should have warned me about.
But you know, it's good that that it came out.
Yeah.
I never expected that kind of a story, because I never knew.
Yeah.
Maria, how are your parents? Are they really supportive?
My parents.
It's an opportunity to brag about your
Yeah,
parents.
yeah, and I can brag about them all day long. They are the best parents I could ever hope for.
What are their names?
Okay, I think they're even watching. There's George, my dad, and Miriam, my mom. And one thing I appreciate them much for is they accepted me from day one. But as I'm listening to Baba Tumaini, I'm thinking, wow, that must have been the hardest, journey of a parent. But they loved me, you know. And my mom, we have been through a long journey, you know, up and down therapy, going to the hospital. But I appreciate them because I was no different. They treated me just like any other child. And I mattered, you know. They didn't hide me or put me away or ignored me. I mattered enough to be in their lives, and they did everything. They did their best for me, and that's why I'm here.
Wow. Baba Tumaini, the fact that a parent will treat this child like any other child, irrespective of what neighbors and the society says, because to people who do not understand, it is quite a challenge. But how do you do it as a parent? Because it's easier said than done.
This is a journey that I'm still on. It is not something you do or you get over, you get to know how to do. It's every morning. It's every morning you wake up to the same job, because it's every day that you meet new faces, you meet new people who are insensitive, you meet new kids whose parents haven't sensitized them about inclusivity. Yeah. It's every day, the day you think that you just got it, then you meet new people who are even harder who make it even harder for you. So it's a journey. It's a daily journey. I've gotten to embrace and accept that this is my life, this is me. So what I need to do is get the muscle, because if you don't have that inner strength, and secondly, people to walk with you, then it becomes an almost impossible journey. Personally, I've really had, it's been a very painful journey for me. It's a hard lesson every day.
Just sorry to interject. It's painful, but at the same time, you don't want this child to know that you are going through this.
That makes it more painful, because you have to pretend. You have to pretend. You have to pretend, because you're not strong enough yet. You know, you're weak. You're this weak person who's trying to be strong for your child, and you can't afford then to be the person who then they're looking up to, then and you're breaking up in front of them. And so it makes it even more harder. So what I do is I've found a way to try and cope with that. I try and get my own space, sometimes to just go and re-energize, to just go and just vent, and just so that by the time I come back and be with the child and be with Tumaini, then I can be strong again for her. But it's always been, till today, I mean, it's still challenging. I can't say for the past 8 years that now I've gotten over that thing. I haven't, you know. Maybe I've gotten just a bit better than newer parents, but every day I walk with her in the malls, because, I mean, I'm so super happy to hear that just that your parents didn't hide you. And you know, they just treated you like a normal child, and they didn't hide you away from society. I mean, that's key, because I can testify. I throw Tumaini out there in the society. I mean, I throw her everywhere I can. I even think I throw her more than other normal kids are thrown out there, you know? And to me, it's been a challenge, because she has turned out to be the teacher. She has taught me so much, you know? And she is so strong, and she has so much to live for, that sometimes when I'm about to give up, then she gives me the strength, you know? I find these kids who are excluding her from games, you know? Just the normal small things in life that we don't appreciate, they become the big mountains that you're trying to get over. Right. So that's part of it. You never get used to it. You just take it a day at a time.
Right. If there's some things I picked, and I told you about them. Are you constantly being called into school due to your child's behavior? Is a child over 2 years and is not speaking yet? Is your child having difficulties relating to you and others? Does your child have difficulties with reading and writing? Are you having trouble getting help and support? Have you been told that your child has special needs and not sure what to do next? These are really hard questions, but very powerful. How do you, as a parent?
You know what happens sometimes? You know, when you look at Maria, and you will know Maria, yes, has special needs, isn't it? Yes. You will look at Tumaini, and you'll see, yes, Tumaini has special needs because of the physical appearance and the characteristics that they manifest. Now, there are these children who look absolutely fine. There's nothing physical about them, yet they're constantly, the parents are constantly being called to school because of their behavior, because of the fact that they are just not being able to relate to others, the fact that they're not performing like the other children, they're not reading, they can't read. They can't remember their colors, their numbers, their shapes, their letters. They can't remember this. These are the ones now we call that they have emerging invisible disabilities. These are the children who have conditions like attention deficit hyperactive disorder, autism, learning difficulties, dyslexia, dyspraxia, conditions that nobody really knows about. And they just think that your child is lazy, your child doesn't want to work, your child is not pulling up their socks, yeah? The child needs to put more effort, but what are they putting effort into when they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing? Yeah? So those are the children that we are looking at in regards to those questions that you're asking. Now, when parents are called, they really don't know where to go. Who's going to help them? If the teacher cannot be able to give them a solution to where their child is not being able to sit for a minute in the chair, on the seat, then where do they go? They go to the doctors. Well, they're at the doctor's place. They're at the doctor's place. The doctor will see them for about 2 minutes. The child is seated nicely, isn't it? Yes. If it's a boy, the boy will be told, it's okay, boys take longer to speak, isn't it? It's okay, boys are always running all over the place, yeah? If it's a girl, she'll be quiet, isn't it? But when she's out there, instead of demonstrating that she understands what is going on, she'll internalize it and she'll be quiet. The teachers won't even know that the child has a problem, or she'll be very hyper. So it is equipping the teachers in the mainstream regular schools to be able to identify these red flags. Why isn't this child performing like the other children? Why is this child so hyper? Why is this child not grasping what I am saying? Why is this child forgetting what I have just taught? I have taught this child the colors red and blue. They've gone out for break. They come back. They have no clue what red is. They have no clue what blue is. Do you know how frustrating that is for a teacher? So how do we identify these red flags for these children who don't have this physical, very clear special need, yet it is more of a learning or cognitive issue that needs to be addressed immediately? Because once we move them, now, you know, moving them on to the next class, to the next class, to the next class, the gaps will get bigger. So what's going to happen to those children? Okay. So it's a matter of being able to equip, capacity build the teachers to be able to identify these invisible disabilities that the children have in the schools. Yeah.
Maria, your friends, how are your friends? Do they treat you differently? Or do they make fun of you sometimes? Because friends make fun of friends.
That's the interesting part in being differently able are different, because I have a million friends. I say hi to everyone and then everyone, but do they really understand me? Do they see me first, you know? I would say because of our society, we live under so much stigma that people see the disability or their difference before they see the person. So, like in school, I had a couple of friends, but again, kids are kids, always. So they would ask me, why do you talk like that? Or why do you walk like that? And they point, they stare, they laugh. And it was unfortunate because when I was younger, I was asking myself the same questions, you know? But as I got older, I got to understand myself and know, okay, I'm different, and that's okay. But now does society get to understand that fact, that you can be different and still be okay? So even now, leave alone my friends, the people around me, I could be walking in town just like any other person, and you hear people whispering, or people are laughing, or people are handing you doctor's notes, and you're thinking, why can't you see me first? You know, see me as a person first, and then see my condition. And that would make it so much easier for everyone to deal with people with different abilities, and the stigma would be less.
There is something about parents keeping their children away, especially when they know that they're different. As a parent, and just from a parent to a parent, on the camera, speak to that parent who does not want that child to go out and play, does not want that child to interact with other children, and does not want the neighbors to know that they have such a child.
Thanks, Edward. If I may, just before I do that, just to add on to something she mentioned about, she said in her situation, she justified something, and she said kids are kids. I'd like to correct that, and Maria, I'd like to tell you that kids are their parents. That's the truth. We just like being nice and saying kids are kids. Kids are their parents. They are a reflection of their parents. So I feel that kids are kids when the parents are missing, when the parents are not doing their homework with the kids. So when it comes to matters being nice to other different kids, then the finger points back to the parent. That's what I always say. So that's just what I wanted to say.
True.
So you can keep
True.
being nice, and I can keep being the bad cops.
I agree.
Back to so to the parents about who are locking up their kids and not wanting to let them out into the public. I think as a parent, I know that you're doing your kids a huge injustice, because that child has their own life apart from you. You know, they're their own individual person. Like Maria says, they want to be seen for who they are. You know, how is someone going to see her if then she's locked up in the house all through? You know, and I believe that part of the growth that comes from these kids is actually throwing them out into the society. It's actually letting them be, because let's just be, for me, I mean, I don't have so much to give her. I wouldn't know. I'm not a special needs specialist like Teacher Eva, you know. I can only do so much. I can only follow through what then she takes me through. And the funny thing is that there's so many lessons out there for these children if you only let them go out there.
All right. Eva, we addressed this earlier before we came on. We have this engagement that takes place at the highest of levels. You were at State House a couple of days ago. But we have so many parents who are unable to provide for their children, let alone those parents who have children with special needs. How do you cascade these engagements to the grassroots level? As we wind up, we just have a
quick one. Just to go back to what Baba Tumaini has said. There are times also we have to appreciate that you asked a question about the parents keeping their children at home. Sometimes we need to appreciate the fact that there are parents who feel that it's better, I'm not justifying for them, it's better to keep these children at home. Why? Because the society at large is not ready for these children. And what happens? You see Maria, she was accepted at home, she was loved, and that gave her the confidence to be able to go out there. Now there are some children, because of stigma, because of all these issues of myths, the demon possessed, this child you are looked at with a bad eye, you've done what? There's a blame on the parent. So the parent will protect themselves and protect their children and keep them at home. There are others, and I know this will just, everyone will just say, no, what, yeah? But you interact with parents. I've worked with parents for about 30 years now. So some of these things are things that parents actually come and tell you. Others just don't know where to take them. They have no clue where to take their children who are different. When we take them out there into the society treats them very negatively. So they feel, let me protect them by having them here. So I think what needs to happen is the society first needs to be sensitized. So it will make it easier for the parent with that child who is different to be able to take out the child. Because as you said, children are the parents. The same parents are the ones who are telling their children, huyo mtoto ako hivi. You know, huyo mtoto, you'll be like that child. They think that being different is actually contagious. It's not contagious. So let me go back to your question.
Yes.
All right, quickly. Now, that is something we've also taken into account. We started an organization known as Special Education Professionals. And one of the things that we do is work with the different counties. And we identify parents with children with special needs. And then we train those parents at the very low level, grassroots levels. We train those parents to be advocates by building their capacity in regards to education and knowledge of what is, let's say, I'll call it a disability, and what can be done about it. What are the services around that particular community that you can be able to get help from? We talk to them about the National Council for Children with Disabilities. We talk to them about the hospitals around them where they can go and get therapy. And also not just the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, but what do they have to gain by being involved, being registered with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. We talk to them about how do they counsel other mothers and fathers within the community that have children with special needs. Then, of course, we have this very big elephant in the room that says that disability goes hand in hand with poverty. So we try and empower these parents in economic, we call it economic empowerment. So we ask them to get into groups, then come up with projects that can help them be able to raise some funds that will enable them to take care of their children and at the same time be able to financially move on to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as we wind up, Econ, how can yes, is it Econ or Econ?
Econ. Econ Special Tutorials. Econ is a seed of an oak tree. Yeah.
Right.
So when you come into Econ, our idea is you come in as a seed and we nurture you to become an oak tree, a big, strong oak tree.
I feel so empowered right now. So how do parents reach you?
They can call us. We have a website, and they can also call us. Can I give the number?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, on 0725 959 137.
All right.
Yes.
Baba Tumaini, last words, and then we'll wind up with Maria. Any last words?
The thing I'll just like to speak on behalf of parents like me is that I know the biggest fear that we have is not being able to lock in and be sure of our children's future. And I mean, that's the biggest thing for a parent. I mean, that's just synonym for a parent. I'll just like to encourage them and tell them that we can't do this in one day, and we never know if we'll be there tomorrow. And even if you had a normal child, it's the same thing. You can never for sure lock it in for them. So we just need to, because this gave me sleepless nights for the longest time until I came to a place and made peace with myself and realized even my other daughter who really doesn't have the same needs like her, I mean, I still can't lock it up and say for sure I can make this thing totally secure for her. So I'll just like to share with them, because that's one thing I've talked with parents, and that's the deepest fear that they have. And sometimes it also inhibits them to even going fully out to actually give the child space to actually grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maria?
Okay. I think one would, we as a country, as a people, we need to change the narrative. I keep on thinking we're in the 21st century and we're still tackling stigma, you know, and that's our biggest barrier. And it affects us in so many negative ways that hinders our productivity, hinders even the development of our country. And I'd like to push for people to change and open their minds to the fact there are different children, different people with different abilities, special needs, and it's okay. It's okay. And I love a saying where it says, but Albert Einstein, he says, if you tell a fish to climb the tree, then you'll be judging it won't work. That same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Eva, Maria, Baba Tumaini, thank you very much. And of course, I know that a lot we ought to have talked about, but we couldn't, like the postponement of the rollout of the competency-based curriculum. But of course, the government knows what it's doing and how it is going to address the needs of children with special needs. Yeah, of course, we can always come back and
You'll
talk
call
about
us
this.
again, we'll come.
Yes.
Sure.
And that does it for us for Family Matters tonight. I thank you very much. And on behalf of the team here, my name is Edward Kabasa. Have yourself a very wonderful week ahead.